It was June 6, 1944. D-Day. The beaches of Normandy were alive with fire and fear. Gray skies hung low over the channel. The wind carried the sound of gunfire, and the water turned red as thousands of young men fought their way toward France. For many, that day was the beginning of victory. For one American family, it was the beginning of heartbreak. Inside the War Department in Washington, clerks sat at long wooden tables, sorting telegrams, each one announcing the death of another soldier. Among them, 3 letters caught the attention of a young officer. 3 telegrams, 3 brothers, all killed within a short span of days. They were addressed to Mrs. Augusta Niland of Tonawanda, New York. The Niland family had sent 4 sons to war. Robert and Fritz had joined the airborne forces. Preston served with the Air Force in the Pacific, and Edward was a bombardier flying missions over Burma. By June of 1944, only one of them, Private First Class Frederick Fritz Niland, was still alive on the front lines in Normandy. The others were missing, presumed dead. The government remembered another tragedy, the Sullivan brothers. 5 sailors lost together when the USS Juneau sank in 19... They had promised never to let that happen again. And so, on a humid June morning in Washington, a single order was typed and stamped. Locate Private Frederick Niland and return him safely home. That order would become the true story behind Saving Private Ryan. Fritz had parachuted into Normandy just after midnight on D-Day as part of the 501st Parachute Infantry Regiment, 101st Airborne Division. His C-47 was hit by anti-aircraft fire, scattering paratroopers miles from their targets. When he landed, it was in a flooded marsh near the Murderette River. Bullets hissed through the dark. The air smelled of smoke and salt water. He pulled himself from the mud, alone, and began to move east, toward the sound of distant gunfire. For 6 days, he fought with small groups of paratroopers, clearing villages and holding bridges under heavy German counter. He saw friends fall. He saw entire companies wiped out before reaching the head. And then, on June 10th, a chaplain named Francis Sampson arrived at his Unitas camp near Carrington with news that froze the young soldier where he stood. 3 of your brothers, the chaplain said, are gone. Robert was killed near Nouvelle Plain, defending his machine gun position. Preston's B-25 had been shot down in the Pacific. Edward was missing after his bomber failed to return from a mission over Burma. Fritz stared at the ground, unable to speak. The war was suddenly personal in a way words could not describe. The following morning, Chaplain Sampson handed him official orders. He was to be evacuated to Asante, fair to leave, while others were still fighting. But the chaplain's instructions were clear. You've done your duty, he told him softly. Now it's time to go home. On June 13th, 1944, Fritz was escorted from Carrington to Utah Beach. He boarded a transport ship under gray skies, the thunder of artillery still echoing across the coast. As the shoreline faded into fog, he felt both relief and guilt. He had survived, but at a cost no one should bear. When he reached England, he was debriefed, then sent home to the United States. By August, he was back in New York, standing on the same porch where his mother had wept over 3 telegrams. There, he received the news that changed everything again. His brother, Edward I, reported missing quasi alive. He had survived a crash in Burma, been captured, endured a Japanese prison camp, and was finally freed when Allied troops advanced through the jungle. The Niland family had lost 2 sons, but 2 remained. Fritz enrolled at Niagara University after the war. He studied quietly, rarely speaking of what had happened in France. Those who knew him said he was kind, but carried a shadow behind his eyes. He worked hard, married, and tried to live an ordinary life. He never sought attention, never told his story unless asked. Decades later, Hollywood came calling. Screenwriter Robert Rodat learned about the Niland brothers while researching war archives. When he showed the story to director Steven Spielberg, both men were struck by its humanity, the idea of one life being pulled from the battlefield, not for strategy, but for compassion. From that seed grew Saving Private Ryan. Spielberg changed names and details, but the soul of the story remained the same. The cost of one man's life measured against the sacrifice of many. In the film, Captain Miller and his squad risk everything to find one soldier whose brothers are gone. In real life, there was no squad. There was a priest, a signature on a document, and a single act of mercy that rescued a family from total loss. The courage, the fear, and the moral weight portrayed on screen came from thousands like Fritz or men thrust into impossible moments. Fritz lived quietly until 1983. He died at the age of 63. His brothers, Robert and Preston, rest in American cemeteries overseas, one in Normandy, one in Burma. Edward lived until The four brothers, bound by duty and love, became symbols of every American family who sent sons to fight for freedom. More than half a century after D-Day, in June of 2000, crowds gathered again at the Normandy American Cemetery overlooking Omaha Beach. Rows upon rows of white crosses gleamed under the morning sun. Among them lay the Niland brothers. Visitors paused at their graves, tracing names with their fingertips, whispering prayers of gratitude. Somewhere above the roar of the sea, the echoes of history felt alive again. The story of Saving Private Ryan is remembered because it asks the question every soldier carries. Why me? Why did I come home when so many didn't? Fritz never answered that question. He lived quietly, carrying it within him, like so many veterans who returned from the greatest war the world has ever known. He wasn't a movie hero. He was a brother, a son, a soldier who survived because others believed his life was worth saving. His rescue did not end the war, but it gave meaning to compassion in the middle of chaos. One letter started it all. One mother's loss moved a government to act, and one soldier's survival reminded the world that, even in war, humanity must endure. This is the true story behind Saving Private Ryan, the story of Frederick Fritz, the man who lived when his brothers could not, and whose quiet return home became a symbol of love, duty, and mercy in a world torn apart. He came home, but a part of him never left the beaches of Normandy. And every white cross that stands there today is a whisper of men like him, young, brave, and gone too soon, who proved that one life saved can honor thousands lost.